Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're unpacking the psychological and honestly, the mechanical science behind why short, daily practice is the absolute secret to mastering a new skill. We're going to look at this specifically through the lens of language and conversational fluency. We'll explore how the brain actually learns, why our typical go-to study habits completely betray us, and how to build a daily routine that, well, actually works. Let's kick things off with a totally universal frustration. You know the feeling. Why is it that we can study for hours, literally cramming our brains full, only to completely freeze up when it's time to actually speak? It's this massive illusion we fall for, the idea that pouring hours into reading grammar rules or memorizing massive vocab lists should instantly equal conversational fluency. You spend months studying, but the second a stranger asks you a simple question, your mind just goes completely blank. As it turns out, learning the rules of a language and actually performing the physical skill of speaking are two entirely different cognitive processes.
Which brings us to part one, the illusion of fast progress.
So let's explore why progress often feels agonizingly slow and why our brains are essentially tricked into feeling like we're failing, even when we're doing everything exactly right. You see, when you first start learning something new, everything is exciting and fast because it's novel, right? But as you get deeper into it, that visible progress really slows down. There's a great saying for this. Real change often feels quiet and ordinary. Our minds are wired to crave clear, dramatic proof of success. We want progress to look like a staircase, where every single step is super obvious. But deep learning just doesn't look like that. It happens in these tiny, unexciting moments, like, understanding one extra sentence in a podcast without having to mentally translate it, or maybe feeling just a little less terrified to speak up. But because these moments feel so incredibly normal, we ignore them. We think nothing is happening. And sadly, that is exactly when most people quit. To truly grasp a language, you have to actively use it. It's not a spectator sport. Think of it like learning to ride a bicycle. You wouldn't try to learn how to ride a bike by sitting on the couch reading a physics textbook about balance, right? I mean, you'd fall over the second you got on. You literally just have to get on the seat and pedal. It's the same thing here. Passively watching videos or silently reading books, those are amazing for comprehension for sure, but they do absolutely nothing to train your mouth to produce the language. At some point, you've got to transition from just receiving information to actually producing it. Okay, moving into section 2, consistency beats intense studying.
Let's look at the memory science behind this. Traditional cramming, which, let's be honest, is what most of us were taught to do in school, actually works completely against your brain's natural architecture for long-term retention. Take a look at this comparison. First, we've got the classic 3-hour weekend grind. Sure, it looks super productive on your calendar, but it almost always leads straight to burnout. Plus, during the 5 days you skip in between those weekend sessions, your memory inevitably fades. That means your next massive study session is mostly just spent relearning what you already forgot. Now, look at the alternative, 15 minutes daily. Touching the material every single day keeps the brain fresh. It actively reinforces the memory before it even has a chance to fade away. And it builds this really nice, sustainable momentum that doesn't leave you totally exhausted. That number 15, that is the crucial number for your brain. It literally only takes 15 minutes of focused, daily practice to build the muscle. Again, think of it like the gym. You'd never expect to get a six-pack by doing a grueling 4-hour workout on a Sunday and then just sitting on the couch the rest of the week. Spoken language is a physical and cognitive muscle. It absolutely requires those daily, short exposures to build real strength and avoid that dreaded burnout. All right, section 3, solo habits that work. So, if consistency is the ultimate goal, how do we actually pull this off without needing a tutor sitting next to us 24/7? Let's look at a solo habit that is amazing for building speaking reflexes. The 60-second topic rule. It's super simple. You set a timer on your phone for 1 minute, pick literally any random topic, like what you did this weekend or a movie you just watched, and you speak out loud without stopping. And here's the trick. If you stumble, you just push through. Do not stop to correct a grammar mistake. Why? Because the biggest blocker to fluency is that constant urge to pause and fix tiny errors. This little daily habit trains your brain to prioritize forward motion over perfection, which perfectly mimics the actual fast pace of real-world conversations. Next up, we have self-narration. This is huge. Start thinking in the language and narrate your daily activities out loud. If you're making dinner, just say out loud, "Okay, I'm chopping the onions, now I'm going to fry them." If you're walking the dog, describe the cars or the people you're passing. By talking to yourself out loud during these totally routine activities, you're filling up the dead time in your day. Without even changing your schedule one bit, you can easily rack up 30 to 60 minutes of active speaking practice every single day. Let's jump into section 4, overcoming fear of mistakes.
Okay, so we know the habits, but what's actually stopping people from doing them? Usually, it isn't a lack of time. It's the completely paralyzing fear of sounding foolish. We're terrified people are going to judge us, and our inner perfectionist is screaming that we shouldn't open our mouths until our grammar is flawless. But when you look at the hard science behind messing up, it is incredibly encouraging. A fascinating study in the Psychonomic Bulletin and Review proved that making mistakes, when they are paired with feedback, significantly improves memory retention. Science literally shows us that making a mistake isn't a step backward. It's the exact biological mechanism that makes the correct information stick in your brain. When you use the wrong word and then you realize it, your brain wires that correction in so much deeper than if you had just passively read it in a textbook.
And that brings us to section 5, pushing past the plateau. So picture this. You're practicing daily, you're bravely embracing your mistakes, and you really are improving. But eventually, and this usually hits right around week 8 to 10, your solo practice reaches its mechanical limit, and bam, you hit a plateau. Now, first we have to give solo practice the credit it deserves. It is brilliant for a lot of things. It can build incredible pronunciation accuracy. It drastically speeds up your vocabulary recall, making it so much easier to pull the right word into a sentence on the fly. It gives you solid confidence in constructing sentences when you're talking about familiar topics, and it really cuts down on hesitation. Basically, it's a fantastic tool for warming up those mechanical skills in a relaxed, safe environment. But there is a hard truth about talking to yourself in an empty room. It definitely has limits. Solo practice simply cannot build conversational fluency under emotional stress. It can't simulate the sheer spontaneity of a stranger asking you a random follow-up question that you didn't prepare for. It doesn't offer real-time error correction, and it absolutely will not cure that freeze response we talked about earlier. Honestly, the only real cure for freezing up when a stranger talks to you is to actually practice talking to strangers. So to bridge that final gap to true fluency, you need what we call the optimal fluency stack. It's a combination. You take those daily solo habits, which should make up about 70% of your total effort, and you combine them with live under-pressure conversations for the remaining 30%. By adding in live one-on-one sessions just maybe 3 times a week, you take that warm, flexible, mechanical muscle you built all by yourself, and you finally train it to perform out there in the real world. Which brings us to one final, absolutely crucial question to leave you with today. Are you building a life that actually uses the language, or just a life that learns it? The science is pretty undeniable here, folks. Fluency doesn't magically appear from a textbook. It comes from daily, messy, deliberate practice. So stop waiting for the perfect moment to start speaking. Jump in, make those mistakes, and start your 15 minutes of active practice today. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.